Have a look at this.
We always, in Africa, as young people, we always talk about wanting leadership and wanting to be seen as leaders.
Welcome to the inaugural Breaking Down Borders Africa Youth Summit, one that I think is here to stay.
Young people must strive to be the best, and if not, at least be amongst the best.
The Breaking Down Borders Africa Youth Summit.
The summit is a platform to commemorate Africa Month through engagements with the established leaders.
The summit is important because it's created by Africa's youth. Interesting. We have Lorato Modongo, who is here to tell us a little bit more about that program and how it's trying to implement solutions on some of the issues facing the youth on the African continent. She was awarded the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship to pursue her master's, as well as the 2015 Mandela Washington Fellowship under President Barack Obama's Young African Leaders Initiative for Civic Engagement. She is the co-founder of Teen Lead Botswana, which offers mentorship for teenagers in Botswana. She is here today to tell us what one eats in the morning to be this brilliant.
Hello, Anele.
Hello, Lorato. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm thinking, you know, there's parents who watch the show with their children, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going through your achievements, and I'm thinking, I hope that some mothers looking at their child like, Bona what other kids are doing, huh?
If it's inspiring them, then that's good.
Were
that's
you always like this as a kid as well, where you were just breaking down boundaries?
Well, yes. For the bulk of my childhood, I always felt a sense of responsibility and duty towards being great, being a young leader, and community developing my community, basically. Yes.
I'm always very, not wary, I don't know if wary is the word that I'm looking for, but I'm always very interested and curious when these summits happen, where it's, you know, like the one you went to, the Young African Leaders, you know, with President Barack Obama, is how does one identify leadership outside of academic excellence?
For me, leadership is about serving. Serving our communities, impacting, you know, being an inspirational human being in your community. So even if, because academic excellence does not necessarily measure impact, you know, there are many other socio-economic, political spaces that young people excel in them that are not necessarily tied to the academics. So you find that, as I have already said, for me, leadership was about serving. So for young people to serve, that's actually them saying, we're here, we can lead our communities, our countries, our continent even. So servitude,
that's the one.
That's
so
leadership for us.
If I was then watching you, right, and I'm now picking people to, you know, to get these fellowships, you know, be it the Nelson Mandela Rhodes Scholarship, be it the Barack Obama African Leaders, you know, Fellowship in Washington, what do you think when they were reading about you or watching, what do you think made them go, yo, that's our girl?
I think the love for Africa, I mean, as you saw from the clips of the summit that we are actually initiating, or we're actually busy with currently, because it's Africa Month next month, right? May. And we're busy working with the Breaking Down Borders Africa Youth Summit. They would be like, okay, we want to do this because this is our Africa, this is our continent, and we want to build it, we want to develop it, and we would want to be exactly what she is doing.
Okay, so let's talk about breaking down borders. You know, at face value, and from what I see, and you know, I've seen it, you know, over the years that it's happened, and if you look at what it's named, it's basically saying in 2018, there's no ways you should be a youth from Nigeria and from Botswana and Uganda and Kenya. You are simply African youth. And you guys are talking on Twitter every day. You may as well be talking about building the continent, right?
Oh, yes.
Is that what it's about?
Oh, yes. First things first, Africa is at the center of the dialogue at the summit. That African young leaders, they need to dismantle all these barriers that are sort of hindering them from collaborating, the inferiority complex as well, and all the barriers that are hindering them from engaging, collaborating together, because platform was actually created to create networks for partnerships and for collaborations for young Africans all over the 54 countries on the continent. So we get them together to come to this platform with youth policy makers so that they can dialogue about these issues.
Yes.
So you find that we have a summit, the conferencing part itself, we have different young leaders who speak to different themes because we have thematic areas. For example, we have youth participation and good governance. We have eliminating harmful cultural and social practices. So we have so many young people that are doing such amazing work in their countries. Just from the top of my head, we have a young woman by the name Naomi Mora, who's on the BBC list 100 young women last year in 2017. She's coming here to speak about her work, best practices, recommendations. How do we ensure that young Africans are working together for the development of the continent? How do we make sure that they form those partnerships that we're talking about? If you have products, how do we make sure that other young people, but not just young people, other Africans can consume those products, can consume those services, you know, so that we build this continent together?
Okay, it sounds wonderful, but what hurdles do you run into? Because I'm thinking, even the fact that we are of different cultures, different religions, different governance, you know, there must be so many red tapes because you touch your head like, Anele, you have no idea.
No, not even. I'm just getting excited because that difference in culture is what we love. It's actually a leverage point for us. So we are saying, even if you're from Zimbabwe or Botswana or Uganda, you find that as young people, we are faced with similar challenges. They present themselves in different ways, but they're quite similar. I mean, youth unemployment, entrepreneurship, the hurdles that young people in different countries are faced with are pretty much the same. So we are saying, how are we going to engage with these youth policy makers to say, look, these are our problems, and we think these are the ways that we can solve them. As young Africans, we are coming up with the solutions ourselves.
So when you guys then come up with these intended policies and solutions, and then people go back home, do you then have we check up on you, hey, when are you doing what we said we're going to do? Otherwise, we were just meeting to complement each other on our outfits.
Yes, definitely. Remember the three things I talked about, the networking, the partnerships, and the collaborations. Yes, so from last year, for example, now this year, 2018, right? We had young people who were part of the summit as delegates. They worked together on projects. That's one of the key outcomes. So we can see that the international collaborations. I'll use myself an example. I hosted the team when they came to Botswana because they did a tour through other countries looking for networking, sourcing for networking opportunities, right? So I hosted them when they were in Botswana, and then I became a delegate last year. And I was speaking on African women and the transformation agenda, right? And this year, I'm in the planning committee. So these are the opportunities that we're talking about. Yes, so we are saying, if you're an entrepreneur and you want a market in, say, Guinea-Bissau, and here's a young person from Guinea-Bissau, they're connecting you, then you'll be able to penetrate the markets and go in there. If you're an academic, you have a topic or a research area that you're interested in, and there's a young woman or young man in Kenya, for example, working on the same project, you can publish together, you can document together. So those are such issues that we're trying to push out.
So can I just rock up at the summit? Like,
you have to be between the ages of 18 and 35. So you have
to be young.
Yes. You have to be passionate about Africa. You have to be all for community development. You have to be very impactful in your community. So we have a website, www.breakingdownbordersafrica.com. So young people can go to that website, check it out. We have all our thematic areas, our plenaries, all the confirmed speakers in there, and they can apply to come through, and the summit is from the 14th to the 18th of May, 2018, right here in Johannesburg. And our theme is African Youth, building our legacy, because we are saying we're taking ownership of our continent, we are shaping the narrative, and we're pushing Africa to where we want it to be. We're reimagining ourselves into the future of Africa.
Lorato, thank you so much. That website again, www.breakingdownbordersafrica.com. Got it. Go over there. A lot of you always email us. You email the show and you say, guys, I want to do this, I want to do that. This sounds like the summit, which is the first step in the right direction. Now, Lorato is one of many young African leaders participating in the summit, and if you've listened to her, I want to go to a place where there's 1,000 of them.